Hey guys, this is Austin. Welcome back to another review of, the Shield Hero light novels series. And, this is Volume 8, and this one is pretty good. It sets up to Volume 9, and I'm going to be honest, so far from all the light novels, they're all really good. Besides, 6 and the beginning of 7. Yeah, just to be honest. But, nonetheless, Vol.8 is actually really good, and you web novel readers won't know anything about this because this never happened in the web novel. I just have to state that. And obviously, if you're coming in here and you expect not me to spoil anything, why are you here, buddy? You're in the wrong zone, man. Go somewhere else. But anyway, so from Volume 7, we know that Nofumi is being transported to another world because Kyo is on the run after what he did to the spirit turtle, or tortoise, however you want to say it, and Nofumi needs to make him pay. And the vassal weapons crying out that he needs to pay, basically. And it kind of leads into this whole, being put into a new world. And it's a isekai in the isekai. Isekaiception. I mean, how much more isekai can you get? And this is where we get to see the bigger picture of the rise of the Shield Hero. It's not something small, and honestly, I know I like to talk to some people on the Shield Hero, Discord server about how, Shield Hero is kind of like the Marvel universe, because there's more universes and more worlds than people really realize. And I guess there's the Justice League, or the Avengers, in a sense, that we see come up once in a while. I'm joking, obviously. Please do know I'm joking. And anyways, so continuing on to the actual what's going on in Volume 8. We see that Nofumi and Risha wake up in a prison, and they're actually level 1, and their equipment isn't really anything. It doesn't work, and the lettering is really bugged, in a sense. And we see that Filo and Raph-chan aren't actually on the partying screen or anything, and we see that the slave tracker is actually at a range, and Nofumi can't see either of them, and it kind of, causes them to get a little bit worried. And we see that now, after they walk out, they see new monsters, kappas, and white boxes. And, white boxes are kind of like the balloons, the most underrated good old monster in the Rise of the Shield Hero. But continue on, we see that, kappas are messing the heck out of Nofumi. And if you don't know what a kappa is, it's not the smile, it's an actual mythical creature, part of the Shinto mythology. If you do want to look it up, do look it up. It's an interesting creature, very ugly, I'm going to be honest with you, but they have sharp claws. They're messing up Nofumi, and we see a girl, good old, my favorite, Lolly of the series, or, Lolita. She's actually, we pray for her to grow, okay? That's what we do. And she actually comes out and saves Nofumi and Risha, and Kizuna is a holy hero of the world that, Nofumi currently is in, and she is the hunting hero. And with that, it's a very broad thing, and I mean, you hear that throughout the light novel of Volume 8, how he goes, that's kind of a broad term. She can really use anything she wants, but there's a catch, and I'll get to that one. But she loves fishing, and if you read this, novel, you're going to know that fishing's her sport. That's her thing. You do not mess with her fishing. And it shows up in Volume 9. It makes me laugh all the time. But anyways, continue on. We see that they're in this never-ending, labyrinth. And we see that Kizuna has been stuck in this for months. And she has no clue what's going on in the outside world, including with waves and everything. And we see that Kizuna is friends with Glass. And, that's like, oh, Nofumi's like, oh, I gotta be careful because, Glass last time was trying to hurt me. And we see that Kizuna actually thought she was in a VR healing MMO called Second Life Project, and she was waiting for her sisters, but, we get to see, what happens to all the heroes. And I'm not going to spoil it in this because it's not in this volume, but do wait for that in the later volumes. But continue on. We see that Kizuna previously was investigating a ghost ship with, Glass and her friends, and it disappeared, causing her to be kind of launched into unfriendly territory, and they captured her and threw into a labyrinth. And this is where we get to see that the world isn't in peace, kind of like, Millimark and everyone else in the Nofumi's world. They're kind of at war, and we see kind of what would happen if, the world wasn't working together, and it's not pretty, to say the least. And we see that Risha is annoying the heck out of Nofumi, and, this is where you see him go, I really miss Raph-chan. She made it easier for me to deal with her, and it just, yeah. Anyways, we see Nofumi get new armor along with Risha, and we see that we have a conversation between Kizuna and Nofumi about their, limitations as holy heroes, and they're kind of almost the same thing. Kizuna cannot harm anyone that isn't a monster, and this kind of, Nofumi goes, I feel you because I can't really harm anyone. I can do damage, just not enough to really hurt them. And I'm doing that because I have to correct one thing I messed up on in the previous video. But anyways, we see that Nofumi is cooking for Kizuna and Risha, and we see that Risha is just like me when I get back from class, because I'm crying because I'm having food, because it's been a while that I had food, and it's so good. And we hear about the actual barrier about the, around the labyrinth, and it's kind of like a whole new kind of world in a sense. It kind of separates everything, and we see that the 4 holy heroes are not allowed to cross between worlds, which kind of brings up the whole, labyrinth being a barrier and being separate and everything. So we see, in a sense, that this labyrinth is just another world that, kind of messes around with it, and it's a smart way to kind of seal heroes away, in a sense, when you think about it. And I'm like, that really has to suck. And we see that Nofumi, good old wise Nofumi, comes up with a plan to escape, and he kind of uses video game logic about, if you ever played video games and, there's a small area, and if you really put a lot of objects that are not supposed to be in there, it kind of breaks you out of the actual solid object without really hurting you, or breaks open, and it opens a opening for you to get out. And we see that he's going to use the mutated plant that he had previously to kind of escape, and he does it pretty well, and they actually escape and found themselves at a Shinto shrine. And it's quite interesting that we're going to start seeing that this world or area that they're in is kind of like a Japanese styled area. And we see Kizuna actually has to try to cross the border because she's not in friendly territory, as we know why she was in the labyrinth. It's kind of, obvious. I mean, some people may miss it, so I just have to go over it. But we see that they have to travel basically across the border, and now they have to purchase travel passes to cross the border. And we see that Nofumi compares this area to the edo-japan area, and I have to mention that, Neko is a huge history buff, and I love my history too, so it was quite a treat to kind of, read through this, because it's really well done, honestly, and a lot of the similarities you'll see as we go through. But anyways, we see that they have 2 weeks until the next wave at this point, and Nofumi still can't find Raph-chan or Filo, and we kind of see now the differences between the two worlds. We have the people, which are the grass people, or I call them elves to make it easier, because I just think grass people is just not a really good name, honestly. And transparent people called spirits, which is kind of what glass is. And we see that the people in the town, are all dressed up in, Japanese, stuff, as, from the Edo period. It's just, it's interesting. But the actual town looked like Kyoto, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of actually want to visit Kyoto myself. But going back to the actual thing, so we see that Nofumi's HP was relabeled to Life Force and his SP to Soul Power, and we see that Spirit people, a little background on them, when they use magic, they lose their Life Force also, which kind of makes sense because it's Soul Power. They have to use it, and their lifeline is their soul. So in a sense, it makes sense, I guess. But we see that they have a very high defenses compared to the average human, which is why, Glass was able to take Nofumi's hits really well. And we kind of have Nofumi recalling that L'Arc dumping like a bottle of soul healing water on Glass and how powerful she got all of a sudden, and kind of explains why she's so powerful. And drops aren't exclusive to heroes in, Glass's world, due to a device that's imitating the whole, hero's drop item functionality, which is kind of interesting and kind of shows how far they developed. And, it's going to be crazy to say, but it's interesting to see how conflict kind of brings up new ways of, making life a better thing, and even though it's really a horrible thing. It's just, I found that a hilarious thing in this. But anyways, we see that Theresa's people, or her kind, or race, are basically they receive powers from special stones, and they actually built that device that helps, duplicate items that will replicate the whole hero drop thing. And it's interesting to see that. But we see later on about how people are talking about another prison break from another country, and Nofumi thinks it's possibly Glass and Raphtalia. And I do want to mention a little key thing, just in case people don't believe me. Nofumi actually can read English, and if you don't believe me, go check page 107 of this novel, or chapter 4, if you want to find it easier. But I just wanted to add that in there because I thought that was a little cool thing. It's like, it's not a necessary detail, but it's something that kind of helps us relate to Nofumi, or people that are in Japan, because in Japan they have to learn English in certain fields, and it's just interesting. But nonetheless, we see people in Kizuna's world using like earth crystals to replenish their magic power, and we see this whole trade-off of Nofumi gaining experience from using the crystal that Kizuna just talked about, and Kizuna gains experience from the magic water that Nofumi had, and it's a new power-up method in a sense. And we see Kizuna powers up her weapon with experience points, which is different from Nofumi's, taking material, adding it to his shield of Zorient, then having to wait a certain requirements to use that shield in a sense. And it's quite interesting. And we start to see, the whole differences again between the two worlds, which this novel has done a very good job at it with, the medicine. Nofumi drinks the medicine to heal while, Kizuna kind of rubs it onto her. And I'm going to be honest, I might have gotten that wrong because sometimes the light novels have a very bad, track record of kind of explaining who's talking. And I hope that can be improved in later novels, but just a little forewarning, if you're going to get into the novels, it's going to be kind of annoying sometimes, but you usually can tell, and I'm going off of my gut, and that's what I saw. Anyways, soul power is, in Kizuna's world, gained by absorbing it, recovering it over time, kind of thing, and it makes sense. And we see that soul people or spirit people have to really wait until they do anything, just like regular people, and it's their life on the line kind of thing. But we see that, Nofumi has a new power-up method, as I said, and Nofumi the Wise, I'm going to call him that, because he is going to now try to sell soul healing water, because it's not a thing in the current world, and that's going to gain some, money. Why wouldn't you, kind of thing. And we see how Kizuna points out, while Nofumi is, being the merchant he is, how he's different when he's selling stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny. And we see this country's using Edo-style currency, going back to, how Neko loves her history, or his history. We still don't know the gender. I'm going to say they. Sorry. And Nofumi actually attracts the attention of spirit people and has, to limit the bottles to one per person. And Nofumi actually did a smart thing of making a sample to help sell the water. And we kind of see Nofumi reflect on himself, saying he kind of misses the time that he had fun being a merchant. And, it was a nice little thing there. But continue on, Nofumi sets up for the next day, and he's wearing a mask just in case, people recognize him or Kizuna. And we see that people that are lined up aren't spirit people, but researchers, middlemen, merchants, and adventurers kind of thing to help, make themselves some money. Everyone needs some money in this world, okay? Anyways, continue on. We see Nofumi sold 2 bottles, then does a really smart plan of, having Risha break 1 bottle, leaving him to have 1 bottle left to have a huge inflation to make more money. And, he does it very well. And I thought that was one of the smartest things I've seen in a while, because it does work that way, because it's, people need it. So they're going to pay more for it. And if it's the last one, they feel the need we really need to get this thing. And we see that actually happen with certain people in real life, with certain companies doing that. I'm not going to name names. But anyways, we see Nofumi counts his money as usual. And he finally has enough to get the traveling voucher and plans on using the leftover money to buy ore so he can power up their weapons, in a sense. We see that shields are a very rare thing in this country that Nofumi is currently in. And he, of course, used the weapon copying thing. But we learn about Kizuna's outfit, which that Glass gave it to her, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I don't want to trigger people. I know some of you get triggered when I pronounce stuff incorrectly, but anyways, Nofumi gets a new samurai-like armor, and I'm not going to lie, it's kind of cool. In the light novel, we can see the pictures, or the artwork, and we see that all of a sudden Nofumi's being followed, since, he can make soul healing water, and, of course, he's valuable. He needs to be captured to, get every cent out of him, or yen, as how they would say in Japan, I guess. But anyways, we see that we kind of learn about this new magic tool, which is, I'm going to apologize for butchering the name, the Ofuda, which allows people that can't use magic to use magic in a single spell kind of attack. And we see that Risha is Nafumi's and Kizuna's kind of only line of defense against people, because they can't do anything to people, which is kind of like, oh boy, if Risha's our only hope, oh no, this is going to go really bad kind of thing. And we see Kizuna buying Risha a bundle of fire ones, and at this point Nafumi is level 35. I have to note that just in case some of you want to know what his level is in the other world at this point. But anyways, we see, Nafumi talk about Kizuna's skills, which two of them, Pitfall, opens a large hole in the ground, and her fishing skill, which she can use a fishing rod hook to yank monsters up into the air and causing them to be exposed belly up when they land. And we see after this whole training or grinding that Nafumi's level 42, and we see they actually arrive at the capital, and we see the whole security on high alert, and we see good old Kizuna calling out Nafumi for thinking leveling up would just work. And basically, this isn't a video game, and we see Nafumi kind of do the thing he hates, and that kind of explains why he doesn't like the other heroes when they do the same thing, because you hate who you are in a sense. But I'm not going to go on a whole philosophy thing, but continue on. We see that they were trying to get to the Dragon Hourglass, and basically the Dragon Hourglass would give supposedly better drop items or more drop items to people that would go there. And kind of we learn about the vassal weapon of the country, which is the mirror. And that's a big foreshadowing if some of you have read ahead and are watching this video. And a very nice Snow White reference was in this good old light novel volume. And we meet Trash number 2, the genius from the next country over that developed a way to duplicate the hero's ability to use the hourglass to teleport. And, that's kind of smart, I'm not going to lie. And Kizuna rushed to the hourglass after, they were trying to be sneaky, and a guard recognizes Kizuna, so it makes, Nafumi having to do crowd control. And yes, there's a harem in this, but it's not Nafumi's. This isn't a harem series, to help you some people to understand. But anyways, continue on. Kizuna uses the return dragon vein, and they escape, and they arrive at this castle that looked like a European Middle Age kind of castle, and people were happy for Kizuna's return. And now we have the whole theory. I know I'm skipping over minor things, but the theory on the waves, or the prophecy, they occur when two worlds fuse together, and the four heroes are kind of the keystones of the world, and if they are, dead, the world gets destroyed, and if the world that wins gets their lifespans, the world's lifespans increased. And it's kind of interesting. And we see Kizuna isn't a fan of it, and the four heroes basically are the defenders of the world, and the vassal weapon users are the attackers. Normally, heroes can't go to the other world, and that brings up why we saw that whole thing before of heroes can't cross to another world kind of thing. And L'Arc's nickname, we find out, is Boy, and not to spoil much until Volume 9 that we get to, hear a lot more about L'Arc. So if you wait for that one, it'll be in a month or two. Don't worry, we'll talk about it. But anyway, so Kizuna basically expresses how she does not like the prophecy about the waves, and she's going to convince Glass and the others about not wanting to follow that kind of prophecy. She thinks there's another way to do it, in a sense, and go really good for her, honestly. And we arrive at Kizuna's house. This is where I was going to skip over this, but this is kind of a very crucial thing, because we learn about Glass's backstory, which she was denied to be the, fan vassal weapon user because of her birth, and people have turned down the role, so it eventually just came down to her, and the people that turned it down got upset that she got it. It's just like, where do you get off from that? But continue on, we kind of see this is where Nafumi reflects on himself about not having an actual place to go and live in his world, and, this is where the anime kind of messes up, and this sets up for, Volume 10. But continue on, and not going on a whole rant about the anime. They head back to the castle, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, so I want to just call him Boat Rabbit after Ethenbolt, the boat vassal weapon user. And also we meet Chris the Penguin, Kizuna's Shikigami, an adorable familiar, I want to call him. And Chris is actually the byproduct of Kizuna and Glass, and the rabbit boy is a library rabbit, in a sense, and you'll find out a little more as we get into the next volume. But Chris can actually help find Glass, so we all know where this is going to lead to. Nafumi making his own Shikigami, or familiar, and we see that Raphtalia's hair that he cut a while back, a good amount of volumes back, comes in use, and it helps make the most adorable little thing in this entire series, Raph-chan. Yeah! Rafu! kind of thing. But continuing on, I love Raph-chan, I'm not going to lie with you guys, but we see he unlocks the Shikigami shield, and Chris and Raph-chan point out the map to the same spot where, Glass and Raphtalia are, so they basically are in the same place together, and they're in a party together, and we find later on that Filo is being used as a show animal, and basically Nafumi decides that he's going to infiltrate the good old building over there to retrieve the beautiful little Filo. And it was, of course, that night, and we see that Filo is actually a humming fairy, which is a different thing from, her filial form, or what she was. And Filo has one of the, seals on her back due to the noble wanting to have control over her. Nafumi actually, rips it off and has to be very careful, because if he does it too aggressively, she could actually die. And we see that the noble wakes up, and of course Kizuna's skills running out that she put on before as a hunting hero, lurking kind of thing. And the noble actually attacks Nafumi, and the new good old shield, its skill, Night Terror, triggers and causing the noble to panic, and we see that the adorable little Raph-chan was encouraging Nafumi to torture the guy, and Nafumi ends up torturing this guy by shocking him, and along with putting him in a shield prison, using the Night Terror skill to make him pay, and he wets himself, and it's a lot more graphic, and I really hope the next season does not cut short of this, because we need that kind of brutality, because it was really brutal, guys. I loved it. But anyways, we see Filo doesn't want to pull a carriage, and it kind of showing that she's entirely different in this new world. We get a little background about the humming fairies, which are birds that love music, and they also can fly, so this is kind of a new thing for Filo, because filials usually can't fly. Usually, I have to say that usually can't. And we see Nafumi's love for Raphtalia projected on Raph-chan, and I just love that little thing, because he projects his affection that we all know he loves Raphtalia, but it's just the stuff he's been through, he can't trust himself or other people to be in that kind of serious thing, and he's on a mission in a sense. But we see that Risha and Filo have already learned the world's language, and it was Filo that learned it first, and Filo is actually really smart. And I know sometimes I make the joke about her being a musclehead, but she's actually really smart, and it's selective smart, I'm going to say the least. But anyways, we see the holder of the katana vassal weapon escape, and Nafumi uses the whole slave spell to find Raphtalia, but it comes up negative, and I really hope when we get to the anime right here, they do a very dramatic thing and kind of have Nafumi be a little emotional here, because he starts to worry if Raphtalia has, perished, and he starts to hug Raph-chan to calm himself, and, it kind of brings up, he loves Raphtalia, but as I said before, it's just, he can't really go into something like that currently, and you're going to see it just a huge battle throughout the entire volumes. But as I said, it's not a romance-focused story. It really isn't. It's an action story in a sense, or a very good story in my opinion. But we see that good old Nafumi finds Raphtalia, and I love his description of her. He says she had a rounded, fuzzy ears, long, soft hair, deep eyes that you could lose yourself in, and a puffy tail that swayed beautifully. And he does mention that she looks a lot more beautiful, even though because of the time they had apart. I know I kind of butchered a couple things, but I'm trying to remember in the back of my head, I'm going to be honest with you. And I love how he's in denial. I really do. And this is where we see, good old Raphtalia wearing the red and white Miko, the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in a while. And good gosh, she is really adorable and beautiful. But continuing on, besides fangirling, we see Trash 2 shows up and wants to make Raphtalia pay for, stealing the katana, accusing her she stole the katana, which we find out that Raphtalia was chosen by the katana, the vassal weapon, over Trash 2, so he got butthurt and he's salty as heck, to say the least. And we see that Trash 2 was using copies of the legendary White Tigers that were actually the reason why the whole teleportation skill was being blocked, and we see Raphtalia was just fighting beautifully, and we kind of see Kizuna and Raphtalia team up for an attack on Trash with the Instant Blade Mist and Bloodflower Strike, and this I really do like that, what we see later on. But continuing on, Kizuna just takes out these White Tigers like they're nothing, and Trash 2 realizes he can't move, or he he's done. And of course, this man doesn't listen, and he becomes human sushi in a sense. And poor guy, he really should have listened, and he wouldn't have become mist in a sense. But continuing on, we see that they all go back to the castle, and we see Kizuna chewing out L'Arc, Therese, and Glass for what they did to Nofumi. And we see Glass actually was really caring about what Kizuna was saying. And Nofumi was really enjoying this entire thing, because he's now like, hey, they tried to kill me before, so this is kind of good to watch them get punishment in a sense. And we see they end up forming a good old alliance with Nofumi and Glass and all of them. And L'Arc wants to celebrate because it's been a while since everyone's been around together. And L'Arc, I really like L'Arc. He's a really nice character, and you web novel readers wouldn't know him, would you? But continuing on, besides that jab, we see Nofumi calls L'Arc boy because, he's calling him kiddo, and L'Arc gets angry and tries to pronounce Nofumi's name, but he's just like, no, I can't do it, you're going to always be kiddo, and I love that little moment. And Kizuna brings, Nofumi to the blacksmith, a very skilled one, and we see she actually got along with Nofumi, like the Smith bro in the other world, or Nofumi's world, and she's going to make Nofumi new armor, and Raph-chan, a holder for her katana. I completely forgot the name of that. It has escaped my mind, so don't worry. I'm pretty sure I'll get corrected on that one. But we hear about Alto, the businessman that Nofumi apparently is better than, according to, Glass and Kizuna. And we see Glass loves Kizuna deeply in the end, as she thanks Nofumi for rescuing Kizuna. And of course, Nofumi takes the good old night off and just say, hey, we gotta celebrate, even though he knows he needs to make Kyo pay for what he's done. And obviously there's a very big undertone here that you'll see in the next volume, but I do want to mention it here for the simple fact that it needs to be addressed, since people keep attacking Shield Hero for it being very anti, that group of people. And yeah, Glass and Kizuna is all I'm going to say. But anyways, guys, honestly, this was a really good volume, and I really do apologize for going through every little thing, because some people want to complain. So I'm going to have to do kind of stuff like this, and I do really like to cut the video short, but I want to go through almost everything that's important, because this really sets up for a lot of stuff in the later volumes. So kind of was a key thing. But anyways, guys, did you enjoy, what I talked about? Have you already read Volume 8? Are you going to now read it, since you spoiled yourself? I left out parts that you kind of really should read for yourself. But very little things. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it. I really, really highly recommend people reading the light novel for Shield Hero. Start at Volume 1, and if you really want to take the shortcut, start at Volume 5. And kind of re-educate yourself, I guess, because the ending of the anime did things differently. And, there was no kiss. It was a hug, as the director draw really well, good, a really good drawing of it. But, yeah, the ending was a little interesting. It's going to add more to, the arc in Volume 6 and 7. So, yeah, I know the anime left out Volume 5. So, you could start at 5 or at 6. I have to emphasize, really, really here, you need to really reread a lot of stuff, because the anime it takes out a lot of things, because you can't put everything in a 24 minutes for a good amount of time. But anyway, guys, sorry for going on a whole ramble, but I'll catch you guys later. This has been Austin, and I really hope you're having a wonderful day, and probably a wonderful week, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Peace. A quick shout out to Emmy, Q-Pack, and Rage. Thank you guys for actually helping out with this video, and honestly, thank you.